Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth podcast of Altadena Rebuild Exchange. Today's title of the podcast is Wildfire Rebuild Lessons. What Altadena can learn from Northern California. Again, I want to thank everyone that joined us today and welcome to the Altadena Rebuild Exchange podcast, a platform created to help our community navigate the rebuild process after the Eaton Fire. Our mission is to bring together experienced professionals from across the building industries, from builders, engineers, architects, attorneys, financial experts, and public officials to share knowledge and to help Altadena residents rebuild smarter, safer, and stronger. Today's episode is especially valuable because we're speaking with someone who has already gone through what many families here in Altadena are facing right now. Thanks for being here. Christopherson Builders were founded by Keith and Brenda Christopherson. The company has been building homes and communities in Northern California for more than 45 years. So that's a big impressive timeline there. With over 7,000 homes built across 63 communities. They are one of the largest and most respectful private home builders in the region. And where were you guys? What was your station at? Your base in Northern California?
Santa Rosa in Sonoma County.
There you go. Santa Rosa and Sonoma County, or
Sonoma County. That's the wine region.
Yeah, I love. Yeah, me and my wife love going across there as much as we can. More importantly, our conversation today, they have firsthand experience helping communities rebuild after devastating wildfire in Northern California. Amy, thank you for joining us and sharing your experience with Altadena community. We can get right into it with the questions. So the first question, can you introduce yourself and tell us about your experience rebuilding communities in Northern California after the wildfire disaster?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So my name is Amy Christopherson Bolton. I am second generation in this company. My parents, Keith and Brenda Christopherson, started it back in 1978. We have, as Kavork said, built over 7,000 homes, mostly in new production communities. The roots of our home building was always production. And our hometown in Santa Rosa, we had built thousands of homes in. So in 2017, we had a big wildfire that came through our region. I think it was one of the first or one of the largest in recent memory. And it destroyed over 6,000 homes. Hundreds of those homes were homes that we had built. All of our past customers who had experienced that loss were reaching out. They were concerned that there weren't going to be enough home builders available to rebuild. There would be, charlatans coming in from out of the area. Just not quality options available. So we started rebuilding. Aside from just helping out our community, it's a very, very worthwhile way to make a living.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Thanks for, being there for the community in Northern California. I'm sure after us going through it, it's a blessing to have people that will be able to help in such a professional manner. So yeah, thank you. And again, thank you for coming down miles. Well, not too much. What was it? What is it? About 150 miles away or 200 miles away?
It's a lot longer than that, but I don't know. I take a plane.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's wonderful down here. Honestly, I love the area.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Altadena is beautiful. That's why we live here. And we can't imagine living anywhere else, So, all right. Good to know. So the second question, when you went through a major fire about 5 years ago, 2017. So that's 7 years ago, or almost going to be 8 years. Uh, what were the biggest challenges homeowners faced during the rebuild process at that time?
It was actually, I don't want to say smoother process than fires I've seen since. So it wasn't just that. We actually ended up rebuilding after a number of other fires that occurred. We had a spate of them. between 17 and 2020. Um, the biggest challenges, though, I would think probably would be, frankly, getting a decent contractor. People were coming in from all over, but it wasn't as it is down here where you guys are much more centralized. Up in Sonoma County, it's kind of at the end of a Q-tip. So there's really Highway 101 in, Highway 101 out. That's it.
Hmm.
So we didn't have quite as many options as you guys seem to have down here.
Okay. Okay. So it was mainly a contractor shortage and
Well, a quality contractor shortage.
qual.
There was a lot, yes. Yeah, there was a lot of people who came in, both on the subcontractor level and also the general contractor level, who either didn't know what they were doing at all, like maybe they had just remodeled homes before or something,
Yes.
or they had a general contracting license, but they really were an HVAC contractor. So, and then it's similarly with subcontractors. That said, it works itself out.
Hmm.
One of the benefits, I think, of creating a Wild West environment like there where there are not many rules is that stuff happens fast.
Mm.
So the
Yeah.
more rules you put in to try to protect people, the more it slows things down. And
Yeah.
we experienced that in Napa County, rebuilding there. They had a large fire, well, two of them, the
Hmm.
Atlas fire and then also the Nuns fire. And the county had a lot of regulatory hoops to jump through. And as a result, the rebuilding just hasn't happened. The community hasn't come back.
Yeah. Which one was the Mans fire? Was that in Fresno or which area was you said Manes fire?
Oh, the
Mans?
Atlas and the Nuns fire. Yeah, those
Not.
are Napa County.
Oh, they're both Napa County,
Yeah.
and that was like in 2020 around then,
2017
2017.
and 2020.
So hopefully, whoever rebuilt didn't lose their house again. Did that occur? Where they lost their
Yeah,
house twice?
there have been people, well, no, not from the same fire, but there have been people who lived in Santa Rosa, had their house burn, moved somewhere else only to suffer another
Oh my
wildfire
God.
loss.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is crazy. Yeah,
it is crazy.
hopefully us Altadenians, when we rebuild, if a fire or any disaster comes along, we'll be more protected, when the bad wolf is at our door again.
Well,
So,
one thing that's happening is that the houses are being built a lot more resilient than they were from a fire perspective. So that's going to be helpful.
yes, yes. Yeah, so one of the questions is going to be on that. So the next question, from your experience, what mistakes did homeowners make during rebuilding process that people here should try to avoid?
There's, I think, two really. The first one is going through architecture and designing a home without having a contractor price it out or at least estimate it out. Because there's nothing worse than meeting with a homeowner who has spent months and months designing their dream home, spent probably an exorbitant amount on architecture, refining their dream home, sometimes getting it permitted, only to then take it to a contractor and find out that it's just way outside of their budget.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just all that money, all that time is gone. It's just heartbreaking, and not to mention the emotional toll. The second thing is, and I don't know if this is exactly something people shouldn't do, but I do feel like it's really hard on them. A lot of people are trying to do it all themselves.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, and I don't mean the building part, I mean all the pre-construction and permitting part. Maybe some people want to, but if you have a professional involved, it really goes a lot smoother, and man, is it hard on people emotionally.
Yeah, yeah. Especially, going through all that we did, the state of mind we're in emotionally, even physically. I
Yeah.
still sometimes feel like I'm have to breathe a little heavier, a little more. I guess it could be anxiety too, but yeah, there's all these that we're not the same. So we need all the help that we can, of course. Yeah, those are very, very good suggestions that whoever's listening should really, really think through, especially planning. Know your budget. Don't over the one thing you don't want to do is middle of construction end up already not having enough funding because with construction there's always an unforeseen. So whatever the price is, it's not guaranteed. That price can change, especially now with the price of gas going up to. They're saying it could go up to $10 a gallon or even more. If that happens, everything's going to be more expensive. Just running the heavy machinery with diesel, it's going to cost maybe a quarter percent, 25% more to try to fuel up the machines. So yeah, think- take those in consideration. Have a little cushion. Don't go to the max to your budget. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's a great 2 points you gave us there to avoid. All right. So the next question, how important is for homeowners to work with experience? There you go. You just mentioned it. Local builders versus out of area companies after a disaster like this.
Well, I think ideally working with a local home builder is the best, ideally. I mean, we're not from the area. We came in, I have an office here, but local people do have an understanding and just relationships. The problem is when you have a disaster on the scale of this, especially if you add in the Palisades Malibu piece, if you only relied on local home builders, it probably would take way too long to get everything rebuilt. So I think there definitely is a place for people who can come in who've done this before and who can handle the volume. I think the thing to watch out for is just to make sure that A, they're financially solvent, B, they have history and they will be here if you need them,
Yes.
and C, they'll stand behind their work.
Yes, 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 yes. All great points. And of course, we would like to push local first. But like you said earlier, I think we have this little bit of the same problem, even though we're more centralized, like you said, but we still have most of the contractors and builders and subs, they've done very minimum, mostly remodels. They haven't, I'm talking about probably half has experience, the other half don't. So they don't know the ins and outs to work from ground up, brand new. So with whatever the geology, soil, and foundation slab depth, and the topography of Altadena, which is a lot of it is on the hillside. So there's a lot of slope issues, drainage issues that a lot of contractors have no idea about. That's pretty much a whole different department that you have to get cleared from. So, these houses were built in, 100 years ago, which none of that was considered. And now, every year, like 2026, a new bunch of new codes came out that we all have to be up to date with. 100%. So yeah, local is the best way. And the reason I wanted to do a podcast with you guys is because you guys experience the same things we have. I believe you also lost your home, correct?
No, I didn't. We were evacuated for about 2 weeks because it came
Okay.
really close, but no,
Yeah.
unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. But I'm sure your families, friends, family, community,
Yeah.
the experience that we're going through.
Yeah.
And I believe you guys came here in good faith to try to, comfort and make it be there for us because, as we all need the most experienced to set the bar at least. So so thank you, for doing that, coming down here to help out in that way. So all right, next question, number 5. What building methods and materials are you now using that make homes more fire resistant than before? I'm sure you guys already thought of that during the first
Yeah.
fire, but there's always new and innovative methods, I'm sure.
So, up in Sonoma County for the rebuild, WUI compliance was mandatory. It
Hmm.
became code. So, everything we build is WUI compliant, which now is also the IBHS Wildfire rated. So, we don't use highly combustible materials on the outside. It's either stucco or concrete fiberboard like hardy. If we have eaves, they're either enclosed or they are hardy on the underside. As you know, a lot how these houses tend to burn is generally one of two ways. Either the embers got into under vents underneath the
Mm,
subfloor and the house is burned from the ground up, or the embers, were flying around and
mm,
would catch at the plywood under the eaves and then make their way under the attic into with the vents. And then the house
yes.
would burn from there down.
Yes.
So we no longer have that wood, that plywood to be catching embers. And then any roof or foundation vents are WUI, which means they are ember resistant.
Yes. So nothing
Yeah.
can sneak in. There's no voids, no openings more than, you know, I don't know, like a 1 millimeter or centimeter.
Yeah, no, they're very, very fine mesh. Like on your house, I'm sure, or a lot of houses, you have these pretty big meshes. And I think
Yeah.
the main purpose was to keep rodents out. And
Yeah.
now it's a
Yeah.
very, very fine mesh. And then there also is this like pretty thick honeycomb facing on it, where if an ember or something hot gets in there, the whole thing melts and just closes off.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Wow,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't hear about that. Okay, so that's something new. All right, that's good to know. So for all those listening, make sure your events have that kind of technology there, even though it's very simple technology, but hey,
Hmm.
whatever works and it's been tested and we can get all those testing from the manufacturer that, make sure they're not, because, I'm sure there's a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of fraud aftermarket stuff. So make sure you're getting the stuff that's, proven. So that's another thing we should all look to. So, all right, that's good to know. So you're still using wood, you're still using a regular roofing type of uh, asphalt composite type of
Yeah,
roofing,
yeah, either tile or we use a 30-year fire rated,
fire rated.
Class
Okay.
A
Yeah.
composite.
So I see that you guys are keeping it very standard. I believe it's still considered a class 5A type of building.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, there's some builders that I've talked to, like 2 podcasts before. They do just class A type of building, but that's more expensive. So for someone that can't afford, certain square footage. We won't talk about pricing or anything unless you want to mention it. They can go with the wood, because wood, obviously, wood framing is a lot cheaper than metal studs or concrete or anything else out there. So, okay, that's good to know about you guys' building method there. All right. Next question. How long did it realistically take for a community in Northern California to rebuild after the wildfire? So that's a big question because we're already going into the second year. So we still, there's still a lot to do.
There is, and this is actually an important point because we've now let me see, we did significant amounts of rebuilding in Santa Rosa, Sonoma County, Napa County, and Solano County, and they all had different, processes. They all tried to streamline, but the nuances in the processes made a big difference in how fast rebuilding happened. In Santa Rosa and Sonoma County, the two permit directors got together and I mean really slashed red tape. Like it was awesome. And they had a couple trailers where they had these third party guys brought in and that was the whole purpose, was just to blow through plan reviews and permits. I mean, it happened fast.
No.
And while there were some mistakes that happened for sure,
Mm.
the outcome of that was that the community came back really fast. I mentioned how many homes were gone. Within 3 years, the entire neighborhood of Coffee Park was 99% rebuilt.
Wow,
And then
that's
Fountain
awesome.
Grove, which is the other kind of major neighborhood, but it's on higher end homes on hillsides, so more difficult to rebuild. So we are now, what, 8 years out? And I would say that Fountain Grove's probably 95% built out.
And how many homes got lost at that Fountain Grove that you mentioned? 99% came back in 3 years.
That's Coffee Park.
Coffee Park.
Yeah, which
Okay.
is actually very similar to Altadena in terms of layout.
Oh, it's in the hills. It's in the hills.
No, no, I mean more just kind of grid, standard homes.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, I don't know how many homes there are actually. It was hundreds
Mm.
though.
Hundreds. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And out of, let's say, just the Coffee Park, how many homes did you guys do
We
at
didn't
that?
do too many down there. I think because we had built Fountain Grove initially, or at least a good portion of Fountain Grove, that was where we ended up focusing more because that was where we had our customers who are original homeowners coming to us asking to help. So we really focused more there.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, Coffee Park,
It was at the same time, both the
the whole thing. I mean, the fire came down took out Fountain Grove and crossed 101 and then
I
took out
see.
Coffee Park. So the whole
Okay.
thing.
Yeah, and it was windy too, right? It was a windy time.
Very windy, just like here, but we probably did 10, 15 homes in Coffee Park. The rest was either in the county or in Fountain Grove. But,
Fountain Grove. Okay.
Fountain
How many
Grove, yeah.
homes in Fountain Grove you guys done?
Fountain Grove probably had, I don't know, 1,500 houses.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because did you guys develop that area, most of it?
About a third of it. Yeah,
Oh,
about a
okay.
third of Fountain Grove we developed originally.
Yeah.
But
So
you were
so
asking
that's
about
impressive.
Thank you. But you were asking about how we've seen communities come back. So the point is that the way the government responds
Mhm.
really impacts that. So
Yes.
Santa Rosa, Sonoma County came back really fast. Solano County and Napa County, much slower.
Much
And
slower.
it's much slower. And I think it's directly a result of, well, two things. One, the infrastructure is different. Instead of having all this public infrastructure right there, you had a lot of wells and septic, which, as you know, is a whole permitting nightmare itself.
Yeah.
But also just, I
So
think
there
the
was
focus on the rebuild was just different in those areas.
so that's more hillside areas, a lot more hilly type of areas where there was a lot of drainage, vegetation that burned, like in Altadena, and then after the fire where we had the first rain in February, we had mudslides all over. That a lot of homes got flooded. One of the homes was mine after dealing with the debris, and then we had another 5 foot of mud we had to do it over it.
My goodness.
Yes,
Wow.
so thank God for Army Corps. They came in and knocked it out after about 118 trucks, in like 3 days. Those guys are really impressive. Thank you to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So yeah, like you said, federal government really stepped it up with all these push. I believe they're the ones that push for that self certification to come to try to make things faster. So that's something that's good to look into. And yeah, so I would love to know if you can send me that if you have any type of info on how Fountain Grove and Coffee Park and came together. Like you said, two plan checkers of two counties came together, set up those trailers, like almost like the one-stop shop we have here. Uh, and
Very, very similar. Yeah.
and what did they do different, and what are we not still? Is there something we don't have to talk about now? You can share that later.
No, it's fine. I'm happy to. It's the process here in the county is quite a bit more complex. There, I think for a few reasons. One, the rebuild parameters themselves are more tightly defined. And when we were doing the rebuild, it was pretty much you stay within your setbacks, it's wide open, right? They were trying to not have constraints.
Mm.
Here you have to be very careful to design within the constraints. You want to do like for like or not like for like. And if you're not like for like, there's all these complicated parameters you have to design within. And then you have, different planners and plan checkers coming up with different square footages. We've had now 4 jobs that we have to go and argue square footage. So just
So
like tons of
square
these
footage
little
for
details.
square footage for like. That's that they're saying it won't be like for like because I believe you could go up to 10%. They were saying and still
Uh,
have it like for like.
10% or 200 square feet.
So what's the problem that they're if you're staying within those calculations?
Yeah, well, that's the problem is that at different points in the county process, sometimes they're miscalculating.
Oh, okay.
So, for instance, we have a house that is 1,979 square feet that we designed, and it's at the very, very end of planning. In fact, that's what I was doing at the one stop earlier today. Was I was there trying to get the permit in hand from them for this job, but it got held up for a good week because they the county had decided at the very end of the plan check process that it was actually over 3,000 square feet because they were somehow counting decks, like uncovered decks. And
Balconies,
yes, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
like garage and
It was
basements.
just completely miscalculated. So I had to go there and sit there and pull up the plans, show
And
them the
one
plans.
by
They had to
one.
go in the back They came back. They still had it wrong. Had to fix it again. Go back.
Oh my God.
I
So
mean,
I was thinking maybe it's the third party that's messing up. So basically, this you're having troubles just straight with the county plan checkers.
I don't know. I think it could be the third party. One of them definitely was for sure. This guy just dug his feet in, actually. He decided, even after we'd gotten written county approval, that this was the square footage. At the end of the planning review, he dug his feet in and basically wasn't gonna, he was trying to force us into non-like for like. So I had
Wow.
to get his supervisor involved.
Okay.
They eventually backed down. But the point is
Yeah.
that even shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, to even have to go through that is just a whole other layer. And it's one of the probably 10 things that makes it more difficult to
Okay.
rebuild here.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. You have the courage to share that. I know there's some people I talk to, they don't want to go on, the camera because I guess they're know them or work with them. They have a lot of projects. They don't want other projects to go sour. But no, this is stuff that we all have to bring in spotlight. I'm with you. I'll advocate with you and push through, and whoever is messing up, they need to somehow be accountable for the delays. And
Well, I want to have,
you know, we're also all this little things. It cause more anxiety and more stress and increases trauma for us. So whatever they're doing is not helping in any way us to feel wanted back and guided and giving us a hope to rebuild. So sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I want to be super clear in the fact that the people at the one stop are, I mean, you can tell they care. Like they really care.
Okay.
And I mean, they're doing a great job. I think that part of it is you're right. You have to bring in these third party people. Who knows about, the training that's involved. But I think a big part of it is that LA County is the biggest county in the nation. So it's a behemoth to work within. And change can't be easy. So I think that there's all these little check marks, things that are happening kind of in a silo. They're really trying, but the legacy, I think, of the complexity of permitting has still infused itself to make it very difficult.
Yeah, yeah. Because I did hear they were gonna hire like 150 plus new plan checkers to make the process, but I guess instead of hiring, they subcontracted it to third party. So I guess they hired that way, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's better to hire within so you're more in control of what everyone's doing.
I don't know if you can do that though, with unions, government units, public employee unions. But so it's in an I do, more plan checkers would be great. I think the issue is not so much the plan checker number as just the myriad of things you have to do. Another example is
Hmm.
you have to get a will serve letter from the local water supplier. And there's a number of different ones, as you know, in Altadena. I had this experience recently where, and as you know, people who were displaced here, they're all over the place. Like they're not all living like in Pasadena where it's easy to go do stuff. But
Yeah,
this one water company, they are requiring, they only take cash or check. So you can't go in there with a credit card to pay fees. The owner has to go in there in person, or they have to have a notarized authorization form that someone else can go and work on their behalf. I mean, this is just to get a will serve letter. I mean, it's extraordinarily more difficult than it needs to be. And again, that's just one of the little steps in the process that's making it so. And these are
difficult.
all like, issues at the edge, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this isn't even like your architecture and your engineering and your civil plan. These are all the little extra things that have to happen. MEP
Yes.
counts. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is, yeah. And those letters, you're able to download that from it's like a generic letter. They just have to sign and you can email them, or you have to go there for that too. Or do they
You
make
have,
it easy to get you authorized? The homeowner
no.
assigns it? No?
And that's the thing. And I know they're probably not trying to make it difficult. I think it's probably just their process. But yeah, we had to have the owner go down, pull out cash, go down there to pay because we couldn't just pay online or, use a credit card to, the charge to actually have them produce the letter. They have to actually review the plan sets to make sure on their end that you're not increasing the water use. I've never seen that before. Typically, you just fill out a form and say, this is what my rebuild's going to be. They don't have to actually take the time to review the plans. And then to allow me to go down there and take that off of them so they weren't having to hoof it down to the water department when they don't live nearby, we had to have a notarized letter or notarized authorization form, which means we had to get a notary in person with the homeowners and me,
Hmm.
all just so I could pick up a will serve letter.
Wow. Yeah. And then they want to know the water use, depending if, let's say, it's not like for like it's more square footage, more rooms to change the type of connection than what it was before. Why do they want to use to know the use of water or?
The example they gave me, which makes sense, is that, what if someone had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, single family home and they want to build, 4 condo units on there? That's obviously going to impact their water demand. So they need to know that, which again, completely legitimate. But
Mhm.
and I've always seen that you just write on the form. You don't have to submit plans and have it reviewed. So
Yeah.
again, it's just the
Yeah.
process.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing the water utility. I don't know if you dealt with the Edison, if you have anything with the power part. Maybe you can talk about that down the line if you like. All right, let's move on. Question number 7. If you could give one place of advice to Altadena homeowners rebuilding after total loss, what would it be? I mean, you gave a lot of good info, but what would be like number one to, let's say, those that are confused, lost, they've been misinformed, they've been even frauded. There's a couple of people I know that they lost like over $10,000, and the architect or contractor is nowhere to be found.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, what you would say you've been dealing with, and how long have you been here, by the way, trying to help out the homeowners? Right after the fire or
April. We had our first meeting with people in April.
April? Okay,
Yeah.
so almost gonna
Almost
be
a
a
year.
year. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you have a lot of experience. So what have you been seeing, like homeowners, certain ones, uncertain ones, and ones that especially God give them power is the ones that don't have insurance. They're gonna have to do all this out of pocket, and the ones are fortunate. More power to them. But there's some that are unfortunate that don't. They're most likely gonna lose the house the next
Yeah.
future. So what kind of a, I know I mentioned like tens of thousands different examples, but what would you pick to be number
As
one?
as that was a number one piece of advice.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's actually 2. I know. So one is one I already talked about, which is don't design a plan until, you are working with the contractor to make sure you can afford what you're gonna have. But I
Okay,
think
you can have more than one, don't worry.
okay. But beyond that, I think, just, you know, wait until you find a contractor that you feel comfortable with. Don't feel pressured. If someone's pressuring you, something's wrong.
Yeah. So finding the right contractor, and of course architect and engineer, because all that goes hand to hand. So finding the right, team basically, that because they all have to eventually work together. So, and you got to make sure when you do find a good contractor, you don't have the engineer or architect that's gonna slow things down and not give turnaround quick answers to questions, right? That's
Well, I
another.
think that probably depends on your model. Our model is that we project manage everything soup to
Mhm.
nuts. So the homeowners do work directly with the architect on design, although we are a part of it just to make sure that we're staying within budget. But no, the homeowners never meet, never talk to, don't have to. The engineer or the civil or title torn, any of that stuff. We handle it all. So, I understand your point about having a team, but I think, with our people anyway, they don't ever meet the team aside from the architect.
Hopefully, you'll find someone that can deal with all those, and they have a good working relationship, and they already have their own
Yeah.
team, like you guys, like you mentioned. Okay, so that's a great advice. I think that's very important. Next question, question number 8: how can people in Altadena connect with reputable builders and avoid scams, like I mentioned, during rebuild phase?
I think, well, connecting, I think word of mouth is a really good one for sure. Definitely look up your contractor's license to see if they have any charges against them, if they
Mhm,
have an active license, if they're registered with the Better Business Bureau. So I would definitely do, some background.
mhm, mhm, and they're insured and they have the
Yes.
proper,
Yeah.
workers' comp because, you don't want another lawsuit on your hand, because someone came and got hurt on your job site and you're reliable because your contractor is not
Yep.
insured. So they have to be insured and they have to have workers' comp. So those things you gotta, yep, yep. All right. Question number 9. We're flying through here. That's good. All right. So what lessons did the Northern California learn that you think Altadena can benefit from right now? So I know you mentioned some, like the one with the county and the 2 plan checkers. I think that's a great model that we should look into. If we're not already doing it, we should try
Yeah.
to, yeah.
I
So
think
what
they're trying to. I really do think because it is similar to the one-stop situation. Um, yeah, in terms of, like, what lessons, I really think by far and above the biggest is just getting rid of the red tape. It's,
Mhm,
um, it's a lot. I mean, and we're
mhm,
professionals. It is striking to me when being down here and you see billboards with advertising permit expediters. I've never seen that before because it's very much an indication of the complexity of the permitting process that there has an entire industry that's popped up to basically help you navigate your way through it. And they're not
yeah.
cheap. I
Yeah, I
mean, they're
saw one.
tens of thousands of dollars
Yeah, I saw one actually go, yesterday or the day before, $10,000 do that. I'm like, "Oh my
minimum.
god."
Minimum.
Just
Yeah.
to do the permitting, so that, and again, that's all I think is a scam. Like you said, if you find the right contractor, the, architect, I mean, that's mostly the architect's job to deal with the county, then, that should all be within the scope of the, if you hire the architect, that's not cheap either.
Yeah.
It should come with that. You shouldn't pay extra for that. So homeowners don't fall into that trap unless obviously the people that you hired are newbies. They just went got their contractor license in February of 2025 after a fire, bought a truck and moved to Altadena. Then those obviously they need.
Yeah. You do. I mean, and when you go to the one stop and you sit there and maybe half are contractors, but half are people, just regular people who are there trying to get their own house permit through, and you you
Mhm.
can you can see them
Yeah,
and just the strain on their face. So, I mean, if I was someone who was trying to do it myself, I might use an expediter. But yeah, really, you're right. Your architect or contractor should be able to handle that for you.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, okay, that's good advice. Question number 10, the last question, and feel free to add a question if you like, something you think that we should touch light on too. So this question is, how can people follow your work or reach you if they have any questions about rebuilding after the wildfire loss? I will definitely set up your link and some of your info on this podcast in YouTube and Spotify. But you can also say what would be the best way to contact you guys for. And then what are you offering, I guess, to the homeowners in Altadena? Are you giving a special type of what do you call it? Care, special little discount or anything that, is there anything special that they're getting, let's say, to someone that's coming out of state or our country and bought a plot in Altadena that want to build and they hired you? Obviously, they're the different class than the homeowner that lost their house and rebuilding. So what are you differentiating in?
Well, I mean, is still a business, right? And we
Yeah,
have
of
to be
course.
able to support ourselves, and make it a fair income.
Hmm.
Our cost model is cost plus 10% overhead and 10% profit, just super
Hmm.
straightforward. In terms of like what we offer, we're semi-custom. We do have a lot of our own plans on our website that the 95% of the people either end up taking one of those plans and dramatically altering it or just starting from scratch in full custom design.
Yeah.
But, yeah, once we get that, it's, in terms of, like, what you're offering to people, I think what we offer is, really helping people navigate through this process, having a single point of contact, having someone manage it for them, and knowing how to do it and do it well.
Yeah. So less stress and experience where uh, they won't. I'm sure there's going to be little hiccups here and there. I mean, you can't control everything,
Mhm.
but it's gonna you guys are gonna be on top of it and not put a lot of pressure on the homeowner.
That's the point, that's why they hire us, but it is a really complex process, you're right. No matter how perfect you try to set it up, it's going to
Mhm.
there's gonna be hiccups in the process.
Yes, unforeseen, especially. Yeah. All right. Do you have any other? I think that questions. You
Well, you
think?
asked how people can get a hold of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, our website is christophersonbuilders.com. Our office is 918 East Green Street in Pasadena.
Hmm.
And my personal email is Amy, AMY, at christophersonbuilders.com.
Awesome. And I will go ahead and share all that in the description box below. So in case you couldn't write that down, you can go down and get that info. And yeah, I mean, obviously we can't build ourselves. We need people like you that can come in and give a transparent transaction to the homeowners where they feel like they are being treated right and not getting not feel suspecting and how would I say have some kind of a trust issue. Building a trust is a big thing.
Mhm.
So as long as they have a good trust, good comfort working, and could get answers as asked without waiting weeks or days to get. That's another a big thing. Us homeowners sometimes can get a little anxiety attack if we don't hear back with
Yeah,
with
for
important
sure.
questions. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for addressing all those needs because other than construction, finance, the other big thing is mental health. So we got to make sure we're mentally ready for this adventure. And do um having the right person also ready for it to combat just in case some emotions starts flaring up, which I hope it'll be very smooth selling for everyone. So three recaps from today's podcast is, having hiring someone that has experience and not just experience in building, but experience in rebuilding after a fire and with hundreds of homes, from 2007 on, were all fire rebuilds. So that's a big thing. And then having someone like you guys on top of one stop shop because I know some just sit back and wait and think, okay, it's taking a week, 2 weeks. But you guys seems like you're proactive, you're going and probing and like wanting answers.
Harassing.
So that's very, very important. And then at the same time, you guys are trying to implement. And I think us all coming together will be able to do that, sitting in a round table and uniting as one. Try to take away those red tags and try to take away the way of the old system, the bureaucracy of doing things in the county and the government, which could, as we know, it could take a long time. So but those are very, very good things that I see a good fighter in you guys because we got to fight for our right
Mhm.
or else.
And
So I'm
fight
glad.
for the people, right? Fight for your
So
customers.
I see that in you guys, and thank you for doing that, advocating for us. Because we have to put it out in the light. We can't be quiet about it and say, "Oh yeah, I guess that's fine." They're overwhelmed. They're underfunded and whatever. But no, I believe there's funding to increase all these services for us. So let's close it off. So, Amy, thank you again for taking the time to share your experience and lessons Northern California learned through such difficult rebuilding process. Conversations like this are incredibly important because they help communities like Altadena move forward with a better information and a stronger support from you guys and other professionals. To our listeners and members of the Altadena Rebuild Exchange community, our goal with this podcast is to continue bringing you trusted experts and real world experiences like we just talked about with Sonoma County and Coffee County and Fountain County, beautiful names in Northern California. And by the way, if you haven't been there, go up there. We love Napa. We love all those wine country areas. So helping, guide us rebuild through this journey. If you found this podcast helpful, please share with your neighbor and others who may benefit from this information. Together as a community, we will rebuild Altadena stronger, safer, and smarter for the future. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you in the next podcast of the Altadena Rebuild Exchange. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you thought this was helpful. Another closing quote I'll end this with is, "From loss to rebuilding, from uncertain to strength, together we rise." This is the Altadena Rebuild Exchange. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. God bless. Thank you, Amy. Bye-bye.